everybody. How you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me today, we've got Philadelphia's number one hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, as well as Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. What's up, guys? How was everyone's Memorial Day weekend?
It was great. I'm going to be honest with you. This might be the show that has the PHLY folks asking me to politely leave the building because I've absorbed zero hockey information for the past 10 days. So I'm just winging it.
Hey-o.
Oh, I get it. Get it? Yeah, okay.
Listen, it's I want to do some rumor roundup today. Obviously, we were off yesterday.
Right.
Charlie and JP held things down on Friday with an excellent edition of F Around Friday while I was
Effing around?
Yeah.
You were effing around.
On
the beach.
On Thursday was like, yeah, I don't think I'm coming in tomorrow. And everyone made it work. It's fantastic. Thank you very much to Charlie, JP, and everyone for making that happen for me. But we have just a couple of things to tie up since we have all last spoke. And obviously, I'm going to use any possible way to get Matvei Michkov's name mentioned on this show and into the headline of the video so that people just Google Matvei Michkov and then up pops this show. Boom, numbers for us. But we have a new interview with Michkov from Match TV where he says his relationship with Ska, not all that bad. He talks to the president all the time. He talks to Rottenberg. Everything's cool. He also does not pay attention to rumors about a possible move to the Philadelphia Flyers. No. Seems like he's basically saying, I'm just letting my agent figure it out.
Narrator, he does pay attention to rumors.
Meanwhile, he said, basically, he's not going to say anything either. This seems like he's playing it the same way as Danny, right?
Yeah.
Listen. I'm here. I play hockey. It's all good. I'm going to be ready to go 100% for whoever I play for. He's not going to be like, yeah, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, he's like,
screw that.
He's like,
you just want to end up in the military?
I do hockey, not geopolitical intrigue.
Yes.
That's funny. That's never not.
He's going to do
reference.
all that. But of course, we have, there's nothing better than a good Instagram story. Just to fuel everybody's.
You got to dissect
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's coming.
Oh,
and we have a picture of Matvei. And if you zoom in on the hat, it's an NHL hat. It's probably his draft hat.
Like Rob
But it's an NHL hat of some kind. You'd have to believe the Flyers logo is on there. It might be a little orange on the top. I think someone zoomed in on the dot on top of the hat, and it's orange, and it's it's obviously a Flyers hat.
See, these are the kinds of things.
Also wearing Brooklyn Nets shorts, you have to worry, does he have two sport ambitions?
But these are the kind of things where, on one hand, like my eyes roll so far back into my head.
That's amazing.
Because it's like,
how dare you.
gang, we don't need to be this deranged.
No, we do.
But on the other hand, at least it's not in a malicious way.
No.
Like, it's insanely weird. However, I would rather the energy be pointed in this direction than in a negative direction. Yeah, with me particularly. I don't really care about you, Bill.
So this is the first time I'm seeing this picture, and I don't know if we can do like a computer enhance, but is his friend's socks orange?
Oh my god.
Oh
my god.
I'm just saying, they look like they might
Kelly,
be
I
orange.
think you might have just broken it right here.
Now, when he posts these, whether it's working out in the Flyers shirt, now posting in what we presume is a Flyers hat.
It has to be.
Do you think there's some sort of intent?
Oh, that's Flyers hat, babe.
Or do you think there's some sort of intent to the posts, or it's just like he's a normal person and we're all insane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, he is a normal human being, and everyone in Philadelphia has lost their collective minds. Do I think that
we lost them before,
when he's wearing like a Flyers t-shirt when he's working out? Yeah, that's probably sending a little bit of a message. And the fact that he's wearing NHL gear, like I don't think he does that unintentionally. However, he's also just a teenager enjoying life, and we are all deranged humans who are obsessed with this sports team and have pinned our entire hopes and dreams to one 19-year-old.
Yeah.
So yes, if the question is everyone reading far too much into this? The answer is 100% objectively yes. But again, as weird as it truly is, I guess sure. You know what? If it makes you all happy, why not?
But also, this kid is clearly a showman. And I feel like he is doing a little bit of pandering. He's doing a little bit of what shirt should I wear to the gym to take pictures with my trainer?
Why wouldn't he?
I don't even know if it's pander. I bet there's just like 5% of them that really, really enjoys, like, maybe not him, but one of his boys is like, yeah, you see everyone 8,000 miles away is like, I don't know the distance. I assume, like, I don't know.
8,000 feels right.
It seems about right.
Far.
Is freaking the fuck out because you wore a hat and it's backwards. We can't even for sure see the logo. It's just like, well, what other hat would he be wearing?
It is true. Like Ben points this out, and the similarities are extremely glaring. That like Flyers fans are basically treating Matvei Michkov the way Swifties treat Taylor Swift.
I don't like that.
But it's true.
I don't want to be like that.
It's 100% true.
No.
It's
everything is intentional. It's all part of the
signs.
It's all the Easter eggs that he's laying for Flyers fans. There's nothing that's just done because he felt like taking a picture of him and his bro. No, it's all about us. Everything is about us.
Oh no.
Yep. Ben's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Fuck.
I gotta reevaluate some
And
shit.
that is all the time. I just have to go. I just have to go think for a little bit about my chosen profession. But no, listen, it is a weird sort of thing. Like, I see this on Hockey News Hub. That Twitter that just gives us all of the
Russian news.
The Russian guy.
And I go, well, I need to talk about this today. But I could just not. No, there's a new picture of Michkov out, and we need to dissect it and see what every little part. We just talked about his socks, his friend's socks color.
Well,
I think I might have been wrong about that.
I think what's going on here, and this is obviously, look, people are going to lose their minds about Matvei Michkov regardless, but what's going on here is that it's now been over a week since
there's nothing new,
the Michkov saga really kicked into high gear, and Ska very much threw the door open to the possibility of him coming over, and we just don't have any new concrete info. So people are starved for Michkov info, and as a result, they're going to zero in on things like the hat he's wearing in an Instagram story. It wasn't even a post; it was a story.
It disappears.
But that's just what people are going to do because, again, he's so important to the future of this franchise. He is. It's just an undeniable truth that because people so desperately want to hear something, they're going to look for literally anything. And I get it. I understand it because, number one, Flyers aren't playing, so there's no games to pay attention to aside from the actual playoffs that the Flyers are not in. And we're not yet at the exciting part of the offseason. We are in the playoffs are still going on, so barely any trades ever happen. The draft is still, I think it's now, is it a month away officially? Have we reached the point?
Today's the 28th, so yeah.
So it's a month away.
It's like a month
so
away.
The draft is still 4 weeks away. We've got a fair amount of time before that pivot point of the offseason happens. We're over a month until the start of free agency. People just don't know what to talk about. And the Michkov saga gave everyone in Flyers world something to talk about. Now we've run out of things to talk about, so we've moved to Instagram.
Should we be concerned about scaring him?
I think the vibe I get is that he's going to eat this shit up.
Maybe, yeah, like maybe he wants to be like the star. And listen, you are, man.
Yeah.
I do think this is maybe just for what Charlie was talking about, maybe just a tangential part of it, why people are so obsessed. But we're picking at 12.
Yeah.
There's a chance that the team gets, I think they're going to be worse, but we don't know what their offseason, like I have no idea what this offseason plan is. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But there's a chance we don't get another crack at one of these guys. Like, you could get lucky.
Yeah.
Look at the Stars, right? The Stars are now Heiskanen, sure. But you look at their core and go, oh, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you don't need to win the lottery 3 years in a row.
Nope.
Look at the Stars. But he's going to be our only one, probably. We can go out and acquire somebody. Maybe we get lucky at 12 or in future drafts, whatever. But Michkov is the only, he's a fucking stud, probably. And the entire franchise rests on that. Because what do we need? Studs.
Yep.
He's the only one right now. Cutter Gautier's gone. We don't know what Jamie Drysdale, like, we are obsessed with this dude because he's our only hope.
I don't think he's the only hope, but I think it feels that way to fans because fans are incapable, well, especially Flyers fans because of what they've dealt with for the last 12 plus years. They're incapable of envisioning a future where
we find a Jason Robertson,
where they get lucky, where the Flyers find a superstar in the second round, where the Flyers front office trades for someone who becomes a superstar. It is extremely possible that could happen. It really could. It is not as outlandish as everyone seems to believe it is, but Flyers fans, given the fact that they have been tortured into oblivion over the past decade plus, are incapable of believing that that is possible. So the only thing that seems possible is that this Michkov guy who has been promoted as a superstar level talent will become the superstar that he was promised to be. I don't think it's the only way they can get a superstar, but it certainly feels like it to the people who are most pessimistic. And I would say probably about 95% of the fan base is in that bucket right now.
And I mean, he's the only one we can attach a name to. Like, I very much believe that either the 1C or 1D problem is solved via trade or free agency. I don't know who that guy
don't know
is.
Who it is. Yeah.
Like, I can't. Yeah. I don't know who the free agents are 2 years. I guess I could look it up, but like, I don't know. Like who's going to get bought out? There's just so many things that could happen. I can attach a name to one dude.
Well, it boils down to, and this is something I was actually thinking about this weekend because I was pondering this whole idea of, you watch the Stars, you watch teams that did find ways to get high-end guys without having to tank for 5 years. But I do think that one of the reasons why so many fans have jumped on we should tank and be bad for 4 straight years and get all these chances at high-end talent. One of the reasons why so many people have jumped on it, and again, this just speaks to the fact that the Flyers are going to have to earn the trust back in a lot of ways. The reason is because there is zero faith in the ability of the front office to find really good players any other way. There is zero faith that they will be able to draft someone not in the top 5 that is a star. There is zero faith they will be able to trade for someone who is a star. There is zero faith they will be able to identify the right free agent. So if you have no faith in the organization to find high-end players, the only way you can think to yourself, well, we might be able to get it in spite of ourselves is to pick in the top 4 for 4 straight years. It's like, basically the idea is like, even the Flyers can't screw that up.
Oh, but they can.
And
they have.
I mean, they've never drafted in the top 5 like 5 straight years.
Well, no, but
that's my point is the thought process is like, look,
that many times.
That's why the tanking idea I think has become so popular is because it's the idea that like the Flyers are not competent enough to get high-end talent any other way. They've shown this. And even though it's a new front office, we don't fully trust them yet either. So the only way we feel like we can, like, okay, we'll at least get 1 or 2 if we're real bad for 5 straight years, because that's the only way we can trust the Flyers to, like, succeed in spite of themselves. I don't think the Flyers are in that bad shape anymore, but I understand why fans do. So I get why a lot of people have turned to tanking is the only solution, because they don't believe that the Flyers have the acumen, the front office ability to find them any other way other than just lucking into it by being bad.
I think I wanted to talk about this particular player a little later, but I think this is a natural point to bring him up. Something that is starting to make me think, like, be a little more optimistic that this group might be different and they might be able to find guys. Granted, it's a first-round pick, but not a top 5, top 10 guy. Dog, at what point do I just have to believe in Oliver Bonk as, oh no, he might be a top pair defenseman? Like, I didn't think it, and I have to laugh. I have to laugh when I go back to a year and they take Oliver Bonk, and it's like, well, he doesn't really have a ton of offensive upside. Maybe it doesn't translate. It's possible. Like, like we've talked bumper Bonk. Like, are they going to use him in the bumper in the NHL? If not, that's a ton of his, But it is John Tortorella, and he does believe in a little bit like, hey, defensemen, you're not defensemen. You're hockey players, much like I do. In the regular season in the OHL, 24 goals, 67 points in 60 games. In the OHL playoffs, they win the championship, the London Knights. 7 goals, 16 points. Now in the Memorial Cup, they're 2-0-0. He has 1 goal, 3 points. I realize it's the OHL now. It's the CHL in total in the Memorial Cup. It's not the NA, but he's dominating. You can't say he's not.
He's been one of the best players on the team that very well may win the Memorial
and
Cup.
now, listen, it's an excellent team. Like, we know about Denver Barkey, who's the Maple Leafs prospect, Ethan Cohen or something.
Yeah.
He like
Sam Dickinson is on that team as well. He's going to be a top 10 pick. Yeah.
Like, they have a ton of dudes, but he's standing out. It's not as if he's just a passenger here.
Yeah.
No,
he's one of the best players.
Point, don't we just have to believe? Like, I have been resistant because I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like scoring all these power play. Is that really going to work? But it's not like he's showing any signs of slowing down now. Like, what, 90 games into this season?
I mean, their performance in juniors is how we evaluate all of these children. It's how all of the experts evaluate these children. It's how they get ranked in their draft list. Like, I don't think it's absurd to look at what he's done this season and think like, oh, maybe he's a bit better than everyone thought he was. Maybe he needed another year to like find his game or whatever.
And it's not like he wasn't good before.
No.
It's just that he's reached another level.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't know if any of these kids are going to translate to the NHL, except for the ones that are like, Connor McDavid. Like, he's going to translate.
Celebrating
right.
or whatever, yeah.
But I don't think it's silly to look at what Oliver Bonk has done and been like, oh shit, maybe we did find something in the late round that we need that never happens to the Flyers. Like, I feel like we have to start thinking that the never happened to the Flyers stuff, it's like we have to let it go because it's not the same people.
I think at the very least, and I'm not ready to say what Oliver Bonk is going to be, because as you said, we don't know.
No, you're guessing.
He hasn't gotten to the NHL yet. We don't know how his game's going to translate. We don't know if this offensive surge is largely driven by the fact that he racks up a ton of points on the power play
or
now
sustainable
in a role that he probably won't play at the NHL level in the bumper spot. So I'm not ready to say that Bonk is going to be a star. He's going to be a top pair defenseman at the NHL level. But I think what we can say is that he's looking like a good pick where they picked him. That because there are guys in every draft that by the end of their draft plus one season, they either stagnate or they regress. Guys that were taken in the first round, and the fans of the team that picked him are like, oh shit, we might have messed up this pick. We were expecting this guy to take a leap. Instead, he just was what he was. I mean, we saw it as Flyers people watching Jay O'Brien. Jay O'Brien was the big swing, later first-round pick. He was a high schooler, and you were thinking to yourself, well, he's going to college. He's going to Providence. Maybe if he explodes, suddenly it's like, man, he should have been a top 10 pick. He was untested against top competition. What happens? He goes to Providence and flames out, doesn't score at all, and looks like crap, and ends up having to go to the BCHL for a while before he can go back to college and kind of restart his career. Now, what is Jay O'Brien now? He is a comp second-round pick that they are going to be using in a month. That's all he became. And it was abundantly clear by that first season that, like, okay, look, guys can turn it around. Maybe it's just a bad year. But by the end of that first year, you were like, oh, I think they screwed up that pick. By the end of this first year, you're thinking, if they redraft last year's first round, Bonk doesn't make it to the Flyers second first round pick.
Probably
now maybe he's not a top 10 pick, but I don't think he makes it to that spot because I think he's had a good enough year and he's shown enough this season that he didn't show in his draft year that will have other teams thinking to themselves like, yeah, at 16, might have taken him.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're talking about guys, stocks rising, falling. You know what isn't falling, though? It's the price of homes.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yes, listen, rates we know are slightly higher right now, but home prices are still rising. And Mortgage CS can help you get into a home before they go higher and also refinance to save money when the rates do drop. And who doesn't love that? Same house? Lower payment. We all know about interest rates right now, but the thing is, if you're in the market for a home values are elevated and expected to keep rising as well, so it might not make sense for you to keep waiting for interest rates to drop before you buy a home when the price of houses just keeps going up. Plus, Mortgage CS will monitor your refinance opportunities and ensure you save money responsibly when the rates do drop. Refinancing with Mortgage CS is straightforward. You don't pay a ton of fees when you refinance, and you'll never get that at Mortgage CS. In the end, you'll be so happy you texted Ben, and you'll find out for yourself the reason people win more with Mortgage CS. So call or text Ben now at 267-391-7425 to see for yourself. You can also go to mortgagecs.com/PHLY to check them out or view their 350 plus perfect 5-star ratings by searching Mortgage CS right now. Oh man, I know people who are in the process of looking into buying a home, getting in, and the prices are not going down. Some houses in the neighborhood I grew up in just sold, and my parents who never thought about moving, they're like, I don't know. It's kind of preposterous what houses are selling for. We might just be getting out of here. The house prices are not going down.
In fairness, Bill, as someone who owns a house, I don't really want them to go down.
Listen, no, I absolutely. I was looking at my house on Zillow last night. I was like, how bad do I want to move? But check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY. This is not I gotta find the thing. Here it is. Oh, I don't have the disclaimer. I've lost it. This is, God damn it.
This is not a guarantee to lend or extend
lend
credit.
or extend credit. I got it. Yeah, here it is. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS and is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information. Yeah, I got to add that to the
Nailed it.
actual thing. But thank you for that, Kelly. That was very much appreciated.
Nice little lead in.
All right. So we're talking some rumors right now, and this thing with Martin Necas that suddenly just popped up. Is this another case of people are just bored, or someone who may actually be available? Do you know if there's anything to this, Charlie, or if we're just like, hey, here's a 25-year-old who might kind of fit the bill of closer to our timeline than maybe a Travis Konecny?
No, I think it's real.
Okay.
Well, let me rephrase. I think it's real that Carolina is considering like moving him. Now, whether they'll do it or not, I don't know. Obviously, I think we talked about this last week, but our buddy Eric T is an interim general manager.
I saw you tweet about it.
Love to see it.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. Like, I'm listening to 32 Thoughts from yesterday this morning, and they're just talking like, it was actually very funny. They brought up, someone might actually just sit in like the Don Waddell seat and kind of just be the dude with connections, while like Eric T and a couple of other people
actually run the team.
make the decisions. But you know, the NHL, you need one of the 200 hockey men, or they don't pick up the phone.
Right.
And they actually threw out the name Chuck Fletcher.
I did see that, yes.
Oh my God, they did?
They're like, wow,
to happen. And they then went back and were like, maybe not him, but a person like that.
That concept.
Who just knows who has the connection. I'm like, so someone who's fucking bad at their job, but like the Rolodex, and probably still uses an actual goddamn Rolodex.
That's really funny. And look, I've always said,
bad at the job.
I have always said, Chuck Fletcher is a really, really good person. I personally enjoyed covering him. He's a good guy. It's just that by the end, obviously, it became clear he had no idea how to address the problems that the Flyers had. If you have Chuck Fletcher as the figurehead for Eric Tulsky, shadow GM, maybe that works. It would just be very funny.
That poor guy. Like, just make him the GM.
I mean, and that's the thing that would suck is that, so right now, Don Waddell essentially resigned. It looks like he's going to catch on in some form with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Right now, Eric Tulsky, who was their assistant general manager. If you don't know the background of Eric Tulsky, Eric T was an early Broad Street Hockey commenter turned article writer, turned SB Nation feature analytics writer.
Yeah.
Then he got picked up by the Hurricanes when Ron Francis was running the team, first as a consultant, then as like their director of analytics dude. Now he was their assistant general manager with a lot of power. Now that Waddell is gone, Tulsky is their interim GM. Yeah. It doesn't seem like they are definitely going to give him the job, but it certainly seems like he's in the mix. Like he could.
They ought to.
And I do agree with you, Bill. I think it's frustrating for someone like Eric, who very clearly is doing a good enough job to deserve a GM position, if the only reason they're not giving him a GM position is because they're afraid, like, well, we need someone to be the hockey man interpreter, like, just rip the Band-Aid off and let the guy be GM.
Right. Like, we can't have a former chemist running our hockey team. Like, we need a guy that played the game. Like, you can't just have, you know,
like, come on,
a smart guy that you've been trusting to make all of your decisions for the last, like, 10 years.
I guess
it's been a long time.
I guess the like GM position's a little different, but I don't know, man. Tampa seems like one hell of a blueprint for a team to follow. And you just look at their head coach, who was a lawyer and like a lacrosse coach. It's like, I don't know, man. John Cooper's doing all right.
He's pretty good.
I think there's one team is going to have to be the one who like goes through the void and goes with, because I know people will say Chaika, but he was in the hockey world and that was a kind of a different thing. Eric would be the first truly up from the public sphere analytics person who doesn't really have a hockey background at all to turn into a GM. I'm rooting for him. I don't know if it's going to happen. They very well may, as you said, 32 Thoughts hinted that they might get a figurehead hockey man to do the actual, like, conversing with Bill Guerin and knows how to speak hockey man. But, like, in my mind, if you think he's good enough to basically run your team, why don't you just have him run your team?
Like, between Philly and Minnesota, he was a GM, Chuck Fletcher, for over 10 years, and he never got to a conference final. Like, maybe he's just not that good. Just a thought.
But he knows guys.
But okay, so let's swing back to the Martin Necas.
That's the Carolina situation.
Because the reason why this came up is because right now, Eric Tulsky theoretically would be making the decision on a Martin Necas trade. So,
which makes me think I don't want him.
Yeah, so we shall see. I think it's real that they are considering it. And the reason why I think it's real is that they've done this before. Yes. Like, if there's a guy in their organization who they like, but they think is asking for too much money, they will trade that person. Yeah. I mean, they've done it. They've done it multiple times. Like Elias Lindholm's an example. Mm-hmm. Like, they've done this before with guys who they just are like, yeah, you know what? We just don't think we like him, but we don't like him that much. They have a valuation on their guys, and they're not going to be willing to pay them more than that valuation just because he's homegrown or because they've had him for a bunch of years. Like, they will move guys and they will try to get assets back. So I think that's real. Now, whether it's real that the Flyers are one of the leaders, I'm sure they've checked in. I'm sure that they are in. If someone like him is available, who is intriguing because he's young, he's got high-end offensive tools, he's a good skater, he's got high-end puck skills. If he's available, the Flyers have to be checking in. I'm just not sure if it's like he's their top target, they're going to get him. I think that is a little bit of a creation of Flyers Twitter because people are bored and want to see the Flyers make moves
stuff
because it's fun. I'm sure they are poking around. I'm sure. The thing with Necas is basically that the question is whether you think he's a center or not. If he's just a winger, which is the position he's mostly played in Carolina, I would not be willing to give up the kind of assets it would take to get him.
Yeah.
If they think he's a center, particularly if they think he has 1C potential in another environment, then if that's what your scouts tell you and you trust them, then I'm open to the idea of a blockbuster trade. But you have to believe he's a center.
Yeah.
You can't just think he's a winger. If he's a winger, I'm eh. If you think he's a center and you think that Carolina was just using him wrong, then maybe.
It's a bit of a gamble, but like I feel like this is the time that the Flyers are in a position to make gambles on these kinds of things.
Fair. But it's not like they're going to be able to get him.
If it's a huge price, it might.
Like Konecny is another Carolina guy who was theoretically available. It doesn't seem like they're going to buy him out now. That appeared to be the report I saw from Freeman last week. That's not necessarily in the cards at the moment. But he would have been more of a low cost option. Where if he gets bought out and all it's going to take is 1 to 2 year commitment to see what you have in him, maybe the cap hits somewhat high, but like probably not as high as the cap that he has now, given the fact that he just got bought out. That's an easier risk to take than trading, multiple good assets for a guy who may or may not be a center.
That's a good point.
And I think a lot of people are just kind of excited about the timeline he fits.
I think people are just excited because it's something.
It's a good player and it's someone
yeah.
it's someone whose name you probably know, you know.
Yeah.
But he doesn't turn 26 till January. I think that does excite some. Like, oh, he actually kind of might fit the timeline a little bit. He's an arbitration eligible RFA. I'm sure you want to get a long-term deal with him done, especially if you trade assets for him. But I've seen a lot of, well, would you rather that or 8 years for TK? Like,
it doesn't have to be an either or.
And it seems like people are posing it as an either or situation. And like, yeah, that's what I was like, why not both?
Yeah.
But is there some sort of connection?
Or why not neither?
Yeah, or neither.
That too, also an option.
Do you think there is any connection with TK other than, hey, man, if Necas is a winger, like, do we need another one if we're keeping TK?
I mean, I guess look, it's roster building, so it's all connected.
Yeah.
Could you envision a scenario where the Flyers trade for Necas and then a week later trade Konecny away to replenish some of the assets they trade away for Necas? Sure, I guess that's an option. I would be skeptical that like you could trade Konecny for Necas, because if Carolina is concerned about giving Necas an 8-year deal, I would suspect they have similar concerns about giving Konecny an 8-year deal, which is what I would think he's going to require.
2 or 3 years older,
Yeah. So I don't think that connection's there. But if you're looking at it as, well, we trade, a first-round pick and Joel Farabee and something else to get Martin Necas, and then we trade Travis Konecny for a first-round pick and something else to replenish, maybe that works. But again, to me, it's like I would only do that if I think Necas is a center. That's my personal opinion.
I kind of like that version of events, because then if he's not a center, you've replaced Konecny. Like, it's not like it's not a loss at that point. If you have both of them, then it's a problem. But if you do what you just suggested, which is trading Konecny for stuff that replaces the stuff, that would be kind of fun. Also, it's like a lot of Briere doing stuff, which I think people really want to see.
People just want the Flyers to do stuff, especially the people who are online, because doing stuff is fun. I mean, I know no one will admit it because of how poorly it worked out, but I would say the vast majority of Flyers Twitter, particularly the very much do stuff section, was very excited by the Chuck Fletcher doing stuff summer.
Oh, I love that summer.
When they traded for Ellis, when they got Ristolainen, when they swapped Voracek for Atkinson. It was like, they're doing stuff. Chuck's doing things. That's exciting. We want him to do stuff. Now, it turned out most of the stuff he did was bad, but he sure did stuff.
He sure did.
And people in the moment like when a GM does stuff, because doing stuff is fun.
I'll tell you, a lot of it turned out bad. I don't even hold that summer against him. Like, he did the right shit. It just didn't work.
Well, the Risto one wasn't the right.
Risto was bad. Risto was bad.
The Ellis deal I won't hold against him.
The Ellis deal, he traded away 2 guys who aren't in the league for like a really good player. It just turns out that really good player
also
couldn't play. None of those guys play
Whole
anymore.
body broken.
Like, Phil Myers gets into a game every now and then, and he's the only one.
He's a quad A defenseman, right?
It's just very
big,
very goddamn funny to me. Just looking at, and we have a lot of time to talk about TK. I just keep seeing though, like, well, people going, I just don't want to give him the 8 years, and I see the Kevin Kurz article. It needs to be there. Even if it's 8 years, it needs to be the priority right now.
I mean, Kevin is very much on the side of they should re-sign Konecny. And I think that Kevin is coming at it from the perspective of, I think the interesting part about Kevin Kurz's perspective, and I think it's valid, because it's just different from everyone else. Because he was away from Flyers world for so long, he doesn't come in with the assumption that like everything is going to go wrong. So his view is like, Konecny isn't that old, and like the Flyers were pretty good this year. Like, they're probably going to just keep getting better because they're rebuilding and they have young assets, and therefore there isn't a big concern about signing Konecny on his part to an 8-year deal, because he's like, hey, he's still not that old, and they're going to be pretty good in the next 3-4 years. So whereas a lot of fans, particularly of the online sect, are like, this is going to take forever. Signing Konecny to an 8-year deal is stupid because they're not going to be a cup contender for 5 years.
I mean, but I don't think that it's just the unreasonable.
No, I don't think it's unreasonable. I'm just saying that Kevin is coming at it from the perspective of, optimism, of
Yeah.
relative optimism. Whereas I think the people that are most opposed to the idea of re-signing Konecny are coming at it from the perspective of like, they ain't going to be good next
Okay,
year.
yeah,
They aren't going
I
to be a
get it.
cup contender for 4 more years. And by the time they are hopefully ready to turn the corner, Konecny is going to be in his 30s and in decline, and then we're going to hate the contract.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Is it better to go long term, 8 years?
Which is what I think it's going to cost. I just think
the
that's
thing.
what.
Yeah, I don't think Konecny will take anything else.
You don't think he would take 5 or 6
No.
at a 9+ mil cap hit?
I think if the Flyers were going to get him on a 5-year deal, I think they would probably have to offer him something like 10 or 11.
10 or 11.
Because that would
Hi-ya.
be making up for what he's giving up by not
Yeah.
signing an 8-year deal.
I keep seeing the numbers floated, and it's even at 8 years, it's going to be more money than I think.
That
it
takes
should
us
be.
all the way back to why not just better Travis Konecny and Mitch Marner?
Yeah. If I'm going to pay
Like, if
10,
I'm gonna pay somebody
if I'm gonna
$11
pay
million,
9, why
I'll
not
pay
pay
Mitch
11 and get
Marner.
the better player?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I honestly, it's not as if like TK, oh, well, Mitch Marner disappears in the playoffs. All right, where's TK been?
Yeah.
He's never gone, and when he did go, he sucked. Like, you know? So
Change the scenery, baby. It's what he needs.
yeah, I do not hate the idea
No.
of Mitch Marner in a TK swap of some kind.
I mean, again, this is all just fun stuff to
Yeah,
theorize
well,
about.
duh.
I do not think that Mitch Marner would waive his no trade clause to come to Philadelphia. But
What a fool.
hey, you never know.
This is the only place he'll get as much attention as he gets up there.
Did you see him? He was like in a coffee shop with Craig Berube the other
I
day.
did
and
see that
people were,
picture,
like,
yeah.
taking- Oh my god!
Somebody saw
what
them.
a place!
Yeah, that's
what a
Toronto.
place Toronto is.
Hockey players just walking around.
You know, while you might just want to walk into a coffee shop, you know, it's
No,
Ollie
it's
Pop.
there.
I don't know
Okay.
where I was going with the Ollie Pop.
You were there.
But let me tell you about our friends over at Ollie Pop, because Ollie Pop is the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste and the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support gut health. Ollie Pop is a new kind of soda. It's only got 2 to 5 grams of sugar plus 9 grams of fiber in every can. 2 out of every 3 Americans say they suffer from digestive issues, and 95% of Americans don't get the daily recommended amount of fiber. Ollie Pop is tackling both these issues with a drink that tastes just like soda. Prebiotic fiber is the food source for the beneficial probiotic bacteria in your gut, and Ollie Pop has 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can that can help support your digestive health. And now Ollie Pop is available online as well as in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide, including the most recent launch at all Wawa stores. And the flavors they're debuting, you know I like them both. The classic root beer, maybe the only root beer I've ever liked, and strawberry vanilla, outstanding, especially mixed with a little bit of tequila. And right now, you can use code PHLY20 for 20% off your next order of Ollie Pop at drinkolliepop.com. Discount only applies to one-time orders, not subscriptions. It's also sold at Amazon, as well as 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa, Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite, and GoPuff. Me personally, go to drinkolliepop.com. Get that 20% off with PHLY20. Why wouldn't you? drinkolliepop.com. I'm a fan of the Ollie Pop. I really am.
I can tell it's a genuine like from you.
That's like, I love soda, and I, for a long time, cut it out of my life because I was like, well, you can't get drunk on soda, you know? And
Not with
if
that
I'm going to cut
attitude.
out something that's horrible
Right,
for me,
that's
it
fair.
should be this thing.
Yeah.
Because there's no other benefit to it other than tastes real good.
Yeah.
But now with Ollie Pop, don't have to make that distinction. It's pretty damn good. All right, so that's the Necas stuff, and as well as Travis Konecny. Right now, they're signing TK, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's getting done.
I've always operated under the assumption that Travis Konecny.
I started to think maybe it was a little colder than it was a few months, but now I'm just like, it feels it's going that way.
I just don't think. I think what TK is making clear, and I think this was a big part of the comments he had in exit interviews. He's making it clear that he's not going to be giving the Flyers some enormous discount.
No.
That like,
Rude.
hey, I'm cool to resign. I love Philly. I love my teammates, but also don't think that you're getting me cheap. Like, you're going to have to pay me what I'm going to get in free agency. I'll give you the year to negotiate with me with like exclusive negotiation rights and whatever. And, you know, maybe there are little parts of the deal I might be willing to cave on because I do want to stay. But like, don't expect me to, and I know in retrospect, this deal looks bad because of what ultimately happened, but like, don't expect me to do a Couturier where like Couturier gave the Flyers a discount. He did.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it because then he had 2 back surgeries afterwards. But at the time of that deal, Couturier could have gotten more than $7.75 million a year
For sure.
if he would have hit the open market.
No, when we saw-
he wanted to stay in Philly, and he gave the Flyers a bit of a discount. I do not think Travis Konecny is going to get you're not getting Travis Konecny for under 8. That ain't happening. There's a good chance you ain't getting it for under 9. Maybe you might be able to get him in the high 8s. Maybe if you go through a hard negotiation process and eventually you end up around that spot, I could see it. But if you got dreams of getting Konecny for under $8 million a year, quit dreaming. That ain't what that's not what he's gonna get.
No,
it's not what he's gonna be willing to give the Flyers.
The 8 is what I was hoping for, and now it feels like it's going to be a round up to 9 sort of situation, where maybe it's not 9, but
8.75 or something.
You can't get a player for the amount under 9 that it is, so it's essentially 9.
And it's worth noting, because I know a lot of people are going to hear those numbers in Blanche, and that's fair. But also, a big part of this is that the cap is going up. And these numbers are not going to seem as ridiculous when we're going to see, in the next few weeks, we're going to see the cap go up more than it has over the last 4 years since the pandemic. It's going to jump up to around 87.5. And then the following year, it's going to be in the 90s. And suddenly, an $8 million contract, a $9 million contract, well, now it looks like, holy shit, that's a lot. In 3-4 years, that's not going to seem enormous at all.
That's fair.
That's going to be like what you give number 2, number 3 defensemen.
We are going to have to recalibrate at some point,
we're not there yet, but it's going to happen.
Mean. No, we are.
It's hard to trick, take your brain out of the poverty.
The cap was exactly the same, basically, for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, okay, this number means this.
Right.
And suddenly it's going to, how many guys are making more than 10? No, a considerable amount, because the cap went up by a non-negligible percent. Yeah. It's not just up $500,000, it's up 5-10 from where it was a few years ago.
Yeah. So I just think that's something that people should keep in mind. Now, I'm coming at this from the perspective of I would probably trade Travis Konecny, but I think the Flyers value him, both his on-ice and off-ice contributions, high enough that I think they will prioritize getting a deal done, and they're going to be willing to pay to do it. That's one of the reasons why I haven't focused too much on it so far this offseason, because I just think they're going to do it. So it's why am I going to waste my breath saying not to do it when I think that's what they're going to do anyway? It's
it kind of stinks because, I personally want to believe that this new front office is wholesale different from the Flyers front offices that we've seen for the last decade. I want them to be completely different. And it's extremely Flyers to not be able to do what Carolina does and step back and think to yourself, okay, we developed this guy. Yes, he's one of our guys, but is he actually worth what we're going to pay him, or are we just keeping him because he's our guy? And I feel like the Flyers thing to do is keep our guy.
It absolutely is.
And it's not, it would be really cool to see Danny Briere kind of break out of that. But like you, I think it's
in
100%
fairness, it's also just the NHL thing to do.
Well, yeah,
Carolina is an anomaly in their willingness to set a salary line that they're not willing to go over, and then if that player continues to believe that he's worth more than they think, they will trade him.
Yeah.
They do that, I would say, more than pretty much every other team in hockey.
And that goes, they talked about this with off-ice personnel on 32 Thoughts. That is how Tom Dundon operates his business.
Yes.
I assign a value to. That's why Rod Brendamore is not the highest paid coach in hockey.
Yeah.
Listen, you're a good coach and everything, but this is what I think I should pay you as the coach. You want to go to Toronto, go ahead. But you want to stay here, right?
Yeah, right, right.
And he does that with basically everyone. Hey, if you think you can get more, go ahead. This is what I'm telling you you're worth to me.
Yeah.
That's how he operates his businesses with on and off-ice personnel. The Flyers, owned by Comcast, are a lot more, even like you say, it's owned by a huge corporation, but there is always that Ed Snyder feel of you're my guy.
Yeah.
Look who's actually making the decisions here.
Yeah.
As much as people can scream and yell, as much as people can scream and yell that Comcast is a corporation and all they care about is making money. Keith friggin' Jones is the president of hockey operations. Danny Briere is the GM. These are the people making the decisions, and they are not heartless individuals. They can be swayed by sentiment.
Sweet boys.
They can. I want to tell you, I want to sway you a little bit. to
All right.
check out our friends over at Butcher Box, where you can get
Ooh,
incredible deals on premium cuts from Butcher Box. And deals like this, they're hard to come by at the grocery store. First benefit you got to know about: you can easily find high-quality meats and seafood you can trust, and it's super convenient, delivered straight to your door. You can get 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork raised crate-free, and wild-caught seafood, all of it delivered straight to your door with free shipping and curated to customized box plans, and it's an incredible value. You can get a variety of high-quality cuts at an amazing price, and you get exclusive member deals, and there's recipes, there's inspiration, guides, tips, all sorts of things right on the box. It's the easiest thing that you could possibly do is get your meat through our friends over at Butcher Box. Talk about the convenience, man. It's really been nice just having, like, open my fridge. Like, all right, what the hell am I eating tonight, man? Open the freezer, go, look at this. I got an array of options here, all delivered straight to me, and the curated tips, recipes based on your preferences. Man, it's pretty cool. So check out Butcher Box. Butcher Box is offering our listeners an amazing offer where new users get free meat plus $20 off your first box.
Ooh.
Join today using our link butcherbox.com/PHLY and use code PHLY, and you can receive this exclusive offer today. Because time runs out, man. Like, this isn't going to last forever. If you want this delicious meat delivered straight to you at an extremely discounted rate, some free stuff thrown in as well, go to butcherbox.com/PHLY and use code PHLY. Do it. Do it now. No, don't leave the show. But maybe open up
another window.
Open
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
tab.
Another tab, yeah,
Do
yeah.
it, and then boom, problem solved.
Boom.
All right. I do want to get into. Well, first let's do this one last rumor thing. It
Yeah,
is-
let's hold the draft stuff
Let's hold the draft
'cause
stuff
I feel
for
like-
another day. I don't want to rush it.
Yeah, we did the centers and we did the defensemen last week. I think the wingers we can hold for a full show because that can take up a full show.
It absolutely. I mean, the last one we did, I was like, oh yeah, we'll do this and then some other stuff. And we were like 40 minutes in and we talked about like two guys.
Yeah.
So the draft stuff is fun. We can get to that at any time, though. There is still, as Charlie said, a month before the draft still. And just little things I saw today. Like there was the rumor that Adam Ginning might be out of here. Now it looks like that isn't the case.
Yeah, well, that was my read of that situation. It's pretty logical. It's that was floated probably by the Ginning camp when Ginning was just buried in the AHL with no clear pathway to getting a real shot to make the NHL. Like, these guys from Europe especially, do they want to play in the NHL? Of course they do. They want to play in North America, but like, they're not going to spend forever in the AHL when they know that they can go back home, literally to their home country, in some cases their home city, and get paid a similar amount of money that they're making in the AHL on a two-way contract to play down and be on buses and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They could just go home and get paid more or the same and be more comfortable. The whole reason why they stay in the AHL is because they think the NHL is a possibility. If the NHL they come to believe is not a possibility, why would they stay? To me, that was Jinning's camp floating the idea of like, if there's no path for us making the Flyers, then we'll just go back home. And like, that's like a no hard feelings kind of thing. That's a reasonable thing to suggest. Yeah. But what happened in March? Ginning did get a shot. He got to play in the NHL. He stayed up with the team basically the entire rest of the year. I don't know if he has a long-term path to making the NHL roster and being a fixture on this team. But I think that getting that opportunity has at least convinced him that it's not cut off.
Yeah.
That they value him enough that he's going to get looks if he earns it. And he probably feels like, yeah, I'll give it another go for another year or two more and see what happens.
I don't know if he, just based on like players in the system, guys who I just think are probably going to end up being better than him, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super high on Adam Ginning, but I understand why he would think I might be able to crack this lineup.
I don't know if he's going to be here in 4 years. I would bet against it. But for right now, like, and I'm going to bring, like, Zamula, it looks like they're probably going to resign. He's an RFA, whatever.
I would assume they would resign.
You probably don't want to lose him for nothing.
Yeah.
Next year, if it's, well, we can watch Zamula every single night, or like Zamula, Rodney Addard, Adam Ginning are all kind of just going to factor in, and then whoever wins, and cool.
Yeah.
And then a year from now, maybe one of those guys is in the top 6. And then we go from there once some prospects start to show up. I liked what I saw out of Adam Ginning last year. I don't know, like,
He was fine.
he looked pretty good defensively. I liked what I saw in the defensive zone. He's another more physical element that I think they could use in terms of not just big and physical, but dudes who can also skate. Like, I don't know if he can, orchestrate a breakout at the NHL level consistently, but as a third pair defenseman, I think you could do worse than him next season.
I liked his game better than Zamula. I mean, like, we got obviously way more of a look at Zamula, but like, if you ask me right now which one of those two I would prefer get looks next season, it's Ginning.
I think that's reasonable that Ginning was, in his limited time, made fewer glaring screw-ups than Zamula. Now, as you said, Zamula had a larger sample, so there was more time for teams to exploit his weaknesses, figure out what he was good at, what he was bad at, things like that. Maybe the same thing happens to Ginning. But with all these guys, we're not talking about guys who are likely to become top 4 defensemen.
No.
I mean, we're talking about bottom-of-the-lineup guys, and maybe Ginning ultimately is better than Zamula. Maybe it's just we've seen more of Zamula, so, the presumption is he has higher upside. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe Ginning's better, and I think, and the one thing you also have to remember about these European guys, and this happens pretty regularly, like not all the time, but it happens enough. If he signs a 2-year deal with the Flyers this season and he ends up spending the entire year in the AHL because there was never a spot and he didn't have a good camp and whatever, the two sides could come to an agreement where they tear up the contract. Like, he doesn't have to play out the entirety of a deal if his agent finds somebody in Sweden willing to pay him $1.5 million a year to come back over there and be on a pretty good SHL team.
Yeah.
Like, there can be a mutual contract termination. That happens regularly for Europeans. So maybe Ginning looks at it and he's like, I'm going to try one more year and we'll see where it goes. If it looks like I have an NHL future, I'll stay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, we'll find a way out of this deal. I think that is probably what is going to happen. And maybe this upcoming year becomes Ginning's make or break year as to whether he's going to be an NHLer or whether he's just going to be a career SHLer.
Like, I really liked what they did with Zamula this year. Listen, you're no longer waiver exempt, so we're giving you the shot. And they played him a ton. He had some ups, he had some downs, and I think at the end of the year we figured out what he's going to be. Like, maybe he can continue to improve incrementally, but I think he basically is what he is.
I no longer have high hopes that he could be a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
know for a fact he can't.
No, yeah. This season, if anything, just kind of told me that, like, Zamula is an extremely expendable piece of whatever this is. Like,
and that's...
If he's here, whatever. If he's not, also whatever.
That's important to find out, too.
Yes, it is.
Like,
it's very important, yeah.
The rebuild is not just about finding who fits. It's about it's getting answers on everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, you might not like the answers, but it's good to have them.
Sure.
It's good to, like, I'd rather
really
know than not.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, yeah, well, we'll see. If we were going into this year where it's like, oh, well, we still don't really know about Zamula. Like, well, why not? What did you do last year?
Right,
What did you spend last year figuring out? And that's one of those things. It's like, okay, let's see the next one then. Let's see if the next guy can be better than him as a third pair defenseman.
I think I've said it on the show before that I would not be dismayed. I would not be critical of the Flyers if we get to camp, in September and Zamula gets Wade Allison. Where it's like, oh, Emil Andre had a great camp. And yeah, we had Zamula penciled in, but also he hasn't really shown that he is a clear-cut NHL defenseman. We're going to waive him and we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be annoyed by that. I wouldn't look at that as poor asset manager, because I would say, you know what? They got a long look at him and they've evaluated that he is a replaceable player. Let's give another guy a shot who outplayed him in camp. Now, if Zamula has a great camp and looks like he's taking a step, then yeah, he earns that spot, and then we'll see if year 2 is better than year 1. But I don't think he played well enough in year 1 for me to be like he is a lock.
Oh, he has to be
100%
here.
not.
He did have those 2 weeks on the power play.
We'll always have those 2
We
weeks.
will have those 2 weeks.
I wanted him so badly to be good, and we got those flashes, and I kept thinking, like, yes, here it is. It's going to happen, and it never did.
It was just like they had the 2 weeks where They used my strategy, honestly. It's like, let's just get the puck back to the point, turn the crease into the tush-push, and he'll just fire it, and maybe it'll hit a skate or something.
Yeah.
And it worked. For 2 weeks, and that was pretty much it. But no, I'm all for
He had his
figuring
moments
out.
on the power play. Yeah.
He listen, and the power play was god awful.
Sure was.
He was as good as anyone else who did
yeah.
it. Like, it's not as, oh, well, man, Sanheim looked so good. No, Sanheim wasn't on the power play at the end of the season.
I think the thing with Zamula in the power play is that while he definitely showed flashes of competence, I didn't see anything that tells me that, like, when the Flyers are hopefully good, he needs to be your power play 2 quarterback.
No.
Like, I hope they have 3 better power play defensemen when they're good than Igor Zamula is.
If they don't, we got a big problem.
Yeah.
It's like if you have an Eric Gustafson or a Michael Del Zotto, like, listen, we might have guys who are better, but he does this one thing specifically that we kind of need for, even if it's just power play 2. Maybe Zamula could be that. I did not see that.
No, I didn't see that level of upside as a power play defenseman up top. I didn't.
Before we get out of here, I want to tell you about some events we have coming up at PHLY. These first couple, they're going to be really, really fun. You got to check out allphly.com and find our events calendar. It's filling up for the summer, but this first one, it's going to be a ton of fun over at Gall & Company for the London series. The Phillies and Mets, you can meet Renee and Jamie and the whole PHLY crew over there June 8th and 9th for the series against the Mets. I'm going to be over in London. I'm going to be having a great time. If you're unable to go, I highly suggest the watch party that our PHLY Phillies crew is throwing over at Gall & Company. It is June 8th and 9th. For those 2 games, they're odd start time day games because, it's London.
It's the future.
But it's the weekend.
Yeah, it is the weekend. So you'll have time to go over and check that out. I highly recommend it. We throw a hell of a party here at PHLY.
Sure do.
It is always a great time when we get together. So check that out. And coming up in July, talking about a great time, man. In Blackwood, New Jersey, at the Valley Brook Country Club, we're having the very first, it says first annual, which drives me freaking insane. It's the inaugural Liberty Open. That's July 13th again at Valley Brook Country Club. It's going to be a scramble format. You can sign up as a single, a foursome, and you can even sponsor a hole. It comes with 18 holes with a cart, and you're going to be eligible for tournament gifts, tee prizes, and taste of Philly dinner and post-round ceremony at the pavilion. Not to mention unlimited beer for 2 hours after the round.
Hey-o.
Come on now. Come on now. Check it out. There's going to be contests, team prizes on the course. You got to check this out. You can find out about all of our events coming up this summer, allphly.com. Check out the events calendar. We throw a hell of a party, man. I want you all to participate.
You'll get to bother me about the Flyers and also destroy me in golf because I'm real bad.
That's outstanding. You strike me as someone who could golf.
No.
You do have golf vibes, but I do want to see someone like screaming at you about Matvei Michkov like mid-swing, like when you're trying to get it off the tee.
That would be tremendous. Like, I just love Charlie in public because the people come out for Charlie.
They do.
They come out to harass him in public, much like it's Twitter.
It's not harass.
No,
they like to talk Flyers.
No, the people who do come out in public are much nicer.
Yeah,
we only get the normies, thank God.
I've never been yelled at. I've been talked loudly to from excited fans, but I've never been yelled at like to the degree that I get yelled at on Twitter.
It's
How
funny.
anyone yell at you in real life?
It's the number of people who have yelling to do tend to do it online.
Right.
Yes,
and the people
they're
the willing to come out to an event are probably not as insane.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
they're insane in a different way.
In a good way.
The way I'm insane.
Right, exactly.
You know,
in the
like,
good way.
Just passionate about the team. So if you're one of those people, come on out and you get to play around the golf, hang out at the bar, whatever it might be. So check out all of the events at allphly.com. Enjoyed today's show, fam. Nice to be back from the holiday weekend. Hope everyone out there had a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us everywhere, including right here on YouTube. Set those reminders. Never miss a live show. We'll be coming to you the rest of this week and probably for the rest of the summer at 1 p.m. So make sure you pencil us in there. Also follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. and the podcast, wherever there are podcasts, PHLY Flyers. That's it for us today. My name is Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. That's Kelly Hinkle. Stay loose and sexy, Philly.
We all silly like the mayor.